Hi guys, this is Benjamin Breaker Novotny, and I'm back with another old game from the NSL. Of course, that doesn't really downsize its, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? It really doesn't work against the quality of it. This was a rather lengthy game. Of course, you can see it lasted 24 minutes. And of course, this one, I want to say, is definitely one of our prosperous games, if you will. In the lower left-hand corner, spawning as the Zerg in the blue trunks, it's none other than one of my favorite Zergs. It's ZooCourage. And in the upper right-hand corner, spawning as our Protoss in the red trunks, it's none other than MVP Lure. And this is from the NSL. I believe this is in the playoffs, but not in the grouping phase of it. Thus far, it looks like we have our Protoss player aiming for a Forge Fast Expand. What I do want to say, however, I do want to stress this a lot. I want to say about 5 out of the 6 games that we saw MVP Lure going for, he opened with Blink Stalkers versus Zerg. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him doing that kind of opening on this map yet again. However, I do know that a lot of Zergs in their ZVP matchups do tend to kind of swing towards Ling Muta styles. There we go, that stuttering speech impediment catching on it. Do apologize. Alright, now we see MVP Lure is getting a good scout on his opponent, just making sure none of these silly shenanigans with 6 pools are going down. And I don't believe we saw any 6 pools throughout the entire NSL, or even 7 or 8 pools, but at least not in the ZVP matchups that I can remember. I was there for the entire thing, and it's just like, yeah. But more importantly, with the reason why I decided to take such a long time in recasting this and uploading it to YouTube is simply due to the fact that I forget how the game unfolded. And if I forget how the game unfolds, then it basically works just a teeny bit better in my favor because it gives me some surprise as caster. At least that's what I feel. Nexus going down first for Lure, and that's a bit of a, not the safest opening, but of course it will definitely give him an eco lead considering it actually puts him about 24 seconds ahead of his own opponent's hatchery. Little background on ZooCourage. I believe if this is Phoenix Courage, and he's since switched teams, then he is the one player that I remember first beating any players from the MVP team. Excuse me, not MVP team. Hang on just a second. I do need to correct some sound problems. Not the MVP team, but instead the Prime team. I'm going to go to, let's see, Zhu Yinliang. Take that down to 20%. I forget that I usually have it at 20%. That was just a teeny bit loud in my perspective. I'm hoping this isn't, I'm hoping my voice isn't, like, shadowing the game. There we go, the cannon going down. I also know that a lot of Zergs, at least on the China server, like to send out a couple of, or at least not quite a couple of, but maybe 2 to 4 Lings that are meant to get into the main. And presently, we don't have anything here to block that. I know Lure is not that quaint or inept, if you will, so he goes ahead and throws down that pylon that I've seen so many times that's meant to make a full wall off, at least temporarily, and he's going to cancel that. See? It's a routine I've seen him get so attuned to, but let's get a look and see when the 3rd hatch went down. 35 seconds ago. 4 minutes and 2 seconds is when that 3rd hatch went down. Very important. Good timing. It would be a teeny bit better if it could go down as low as 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Ideally for Zergs, you want to get that down at about the 4-minute mark, no later than 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And ideally it would be between 21 and 23 supply, but I'm not going over a build review. Instead, we're just going to concentrate on the game. Overlord going in, getting a full scout of the main. Sees that there's nothing silly going down just yet. Full saturation, slightly oversaturated actually at the main for ZooCourage. He's going to have to pull 1 or 2 drones and just put them on the mineral line here. As I said before, if this is the Courage that I think it is, he went back and he actually beat the player known as Classic Prime. Lure getting a read on the creep here, and that's about it. He doesn't want to overextend and lose a probe. Like, he knows that at this level of play, every single probe that he has will make the difference. Alright, now we have double gas at 6 minutes. That is indicative of a 2-base Twilight Council opener. I don't remember any DTs actually being used in the entire NSL. Sorry, that was a bit of a spoiler. But I remember they were extremely rarely used and very seldom used. It's hard to describe. It's like DTs, ugh, if I fail at using those, then I basically cost myself the game. And now we have full saturation on the natural, almost, just 2 probes away from that. I'm thinking, actually, 4 more probes would be ideal. But of course, let's look at the worker count right now. We do have Zerg leading by about a 7, 8, 9 worker count, and it's going to go up. Ideally speaking, if this is going to go into Roach style, which is it going into Roach style? I don't see any indicators of that just yet. No, wow, this many gases this early on. Okay, so what I can get a read on from this is that we're going to see maybe some Mutalisk style come out of it. Drones being pulled off of the mineral line and put on gas in the main. The natural. Natural's been going for a while, actually. Layer tech is now on the way, about 60% complete. 3 observers in the queue for MVP lure. Interesting. It looks as though he's actually going for... Okay, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. There's 4 sentries. And what I think we have ZooCourage getting out of this as a read is basically that his opponent will not be going for DTs or Void Rays or anything of that nature, because of course sentries are very gas heavy. And there it is. Blink is now in research. This is that Blink Stalker opening that I told you guys MVP lure loves so much. He's oversaturated on the main and the natural, so that tells me he's probably going to go into some kind of offensive. And following it up with an expo. All he has to do is pull 8 probes off of each mineral line, and he will have his expo. Okay, no pressure, but definitely a 3rd going down. And now we have the Chongxue, right? That basically translates into Chinese, or excuse me, into English as the layer. Spire going down, that's actually Leta. Interesting, did I read that wrong? It says Leta. In Taiwan, they say 螺旋塔, but you guys weren't here for Chinese lessons, so let's go ahead and keep up with the game. Very interesting locations. Oh my god, that is a lot of hatcheries. Double expoing at both corners of the map that neither player spawns on. That would be the northwest and the southeast. And of course, we have the Nexus going down here at the 3rd. It's 70% finished. No mind games here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pretty sure Lure knows that he needs the eco, and he saw what his opponent has basically, and he knows that he's going to expect to see some mutas. I mean, his observer did not see the Spire, but he also didn't see a Roach Warren, so he's like, okay, maybe my opponent is hiding his tech. I really think there should be more Overlord spread, and he's going into the correct defensive position to hold against mutas. Unfortunately, there's an Immortal in the composition. It won't contribute too terribly much. There's a couple of hallucinated Phoenixes out to get a scout on the map. And here are the mutas coming in. They're going to try and get some damage done, and it looks like they've broken into the natural. Only a handful of Stalkers here. They do have Blink. They're trying to get away, but more Stalkers and more Sentries are joining the fight. Only 2 probes have fallen thus far, and ZooCourage is going to get some out of the main here, I can tell. It looks like he's not actually targeting down probes. He's actually targeting down Stalkers. How many probes will he get? I don't know. Let's find out. Oopsie. I hit the wrong button there. +1 flyer attacks on the way, so it looks like we have ZooCourage committing to his Mutalisk play. And if it ever makes it to that stage, if he ever decides to switch to Broodlords, that'll definitely help him out later on. Typically with Roach Infestor Broodlord compositions, you very seldom go mutas in the middle of that. And, oh, that's a nice blink. Gonna pick off a few mutas here. But let's see how many there are altogether. 20 out on the map. And 5 more on the way. 6 more on the way. So as we can see, ZooCourage definitely making maximum use of those double expos that he's got. Not quite maximum. He's actually got 3 drones on minerals here. Huge engagement over here. I almost missed it. But I gotta say, you know, just having 2 extra extractors taking gas right now is definitely working in the favor of ZooCourage. Pylon getting broken down. Sentry falling before throwing down a force field. Lings, unfortunately, forced to kind of attack on the cannons, but a few more probes do fall, just a handful more. And that brings it to 12 workers killed altogether. Checking the worker count difference, it's actually going to add up in the long run. This is 25 workers that we don't see for MVP Lure, and as long as he has to rebuild them, he's going to have to go through the trouble of making sure that he's actually fully saturated. Oh, and Archon gets a nice smack on that group of mutas, and oh my god, no, ZooCourage is losing his most valuable army supply right now. He's only got, my god, how many mutas was that? He was at 20 just a couple of minutes ago, and now all of a sudden he's lost a good deal of mutas here, like, I want to say 60-70% of them, and that is, if it was 16 mutas, he just lost 1,600 minerals and 1,600 gas. +2 attacks not on the way just yet. And I want to say maybe ZooCourage, he didn't have his eyes on those mutas when it happened. I see no tech switch, therefore this was not accounted for, if you will. And checking the income right now, his gas income is still pretty good. He can throw away some mutas without any trouble. I don't want to say mind games, but it definitely tricks up your Protoss opponent into thinking that if you're a Zerg on only 3 base, then you just lost a lot of resources. Overseer gets sniped in here, and more gateways being tacked on. Muta's getting a lot of kills at the natural. Excuse me, a lot of probe kills at that. 8 more mutas on the way. 11 spine crawlers also on the way. It looks like they're aimed at protecting the 3rd. It would be wise to take a 4th and kind of put those in protective position. And I'm just wondering what kind of tech. Okay, it looks like he switched to High Templars instead of opting for DTs. Interestingly enough, there's an Overseer with this mutalist composition. Just trying to get a read on any observers out on the map. That way he can kill whatever is looking at his mutas. It won't be perfect, it won't be flawless, but definitely it will help. And I want to say the biggest thing that it might be working against ZooCourage right now is the upgrades. His opponent is on +3 attack, +1 armor, +1 Protoss shields, and +2 armor about to finish. Excuse me, +2 armor is about to finish, and +1 shields on the way. Warp Prism also getting thrown into the mix, so we're going to see some kind of drop harass. With High Templars in this composition for Protoss, I think it's a safe guess to say we're going to see some High Templar run-bys, if you will. And an Observer gets sniped, so that gives ZooCourage very good map control. But right now, you know, the closer and closer that Protoss gets to 200 supply, I think the more and more danger we're going to see ZooCourage in. All of these spine crawlers right here, I want to say just, come on, move them to the 4th base, but there's a reason behind him having that, and I think it could be he's opting for a sort of base trade at some stage in the game. How many mutas is this? 41 mutas, my god. Changeling did just see basically all these stalkers here. It got shut down. And now we have ZooCourage at 200 supply, researching centrifugal hooks as well as +2 attack. Infestation Pit just now getting thrown down. And that is a lot of Archons. They're going to make really short work of mutas if they ever make the mistake of flying into that. All these stalkers here, oh my god. +1 attack versus +3 stalkers. I don't know, 1 for 1, it might have been an okay exchange with those numbers, but you know, just look at everything that's out here. There's so many probes. If he goes for a base trade scenario, there's just so many things that could work against him. And it looks like that's exactly what both players are opting to do. We see a lot of spine crawlers right here. These mutas are coming back. I think they might prevail over these stalkers. They do have blink, but we have ZooCourage just not opting to overcommit anything just yet. He's targeting down these stalkers. And it looks like the mutas are going to prevail over them. Like, that's only 12 stalkers versus all of these mutas. Here the Archons are. They're going for a full-blown base trade right now. The Warp Prism is right here. It's not in the main. That would definitely work to the better advantage of Lure. 4th base did just fall, or what should be the 4th location base. Typically speaking, I like to go for that one as my 4th. But anywho, mutas are back here getting even more probe kills, bringing it to 28 throughout the entire course of the game. And he's just continuing to crank out mutas, more and more and more and more mutas just on the way. Right now altogether he has 27 versus the 12 stalkers of ZooCourage, or excuse me, of MVP Lure. Fourth base, or excuse me, his original fourth base does get shut down. Fifth base up here is still, as far as I know, unscouted. And my god, it's just like ZooCourage, he doesn't care what his opponent has, but he doesn't realize that these Archons are very dangerous. Just 2 Archons could have killed all of those mutas if he was not careful. But luckily, Archons don't blink. And I want to say the damage that the Archons got in on the mutas earlier is really starting to count, really starting to show. Both players' income taken into account. I want to say right now we have ZooCourage making a huge mistake. He's actually going for just nothing but pure mutas. And these couple of zealots are actually being thrown up in this direction to scout and see if there's maybe a 5th or something of that nature there. And they will find it. There's creep, there's drones, free drones for the taking. And Muta's getting shut down yet again. A nice blink by these stalkers, and the Archons are still with them as well. So that means the third base is actually going to be just fine for Protoss. But still, we have all of these spine crawlers that are going to defend Zerg's home. Greater Spire, interestingly enough, not on the way. Carapace being researched. No, not even Hive Tech at this stage in the game. 22 minutes in, guys. I think we know who's going to win this game, but nonetheless, it's not over yet. This is far from over. I've seen some amazing games where, you know, it was Maxed versus a player that had 70 supply above him. It was 80 supply to 150 supply, and oh my god, this is just one of those games where we saw 200 Zerg on mostly mutas taking down a Protoss and then getting just pushed back, and looks like this is it. We have MVP Lure going for it. He's pushing all the Archons forward to tank for the spine crawlers. That is the ideal thing to do, but there's just so many zealots coming back here to reinforce. Some of these infestors, only 1 fungal left. It does get thrown, and it's just, this is not enough to hold, I think. Right now it's 81 supply versus 162. ZooCourage throws out GG, gives up. He realizes he's in losing fashion. He went nothing but mutas. Unfortunately, poor guy. I think he had a very strong opening. Overall, the entire game, he killed 29 workers. The end game worker count was 59 to 49. 59 to 45. And it was really one of those games, guys. It really was. It was just amazing. Anywho, if you guys liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the follow button on my YouTube channel. Go ahead and add me as a friend on Facebook. That's facebook.com/BreakerSC2. And also, subscribe to my twitch.tv channel. That's twitch.tv/Enders116. You'll see those all below this video. Thanks for watching. This is Breaker. GG, and I'll see you guys next time.